to understand that the diagnosis of concussion can really only be made by a physician or a member of his or her medical team. It's really not for the media to make diagnosis of concussions, but it is totally appropriate for the media to point out what concussion signs are when they see them, and to institute and say that a concussion protocol ought to be instituted when such signs are seen. The things you might look for immediately when someone's hit in the head is how they fall. Do they fall and break their fall? Or do they fall in a limp manner in which the body seems to have gone lifeless, like they're unconscious, possibly? After they've fallen, do they stay where they're essentially in the down position, not moving for several seconds, 5 or more? Do they seem to get up very slowly? When they do get up, do they seem to stagger about? If they go back into their position, do they go back into the right formation, or do they seem to be a little cognitively impaired, figuring out where they're supposed to go? With the obviously rare but biggest example of that being a football player that lines up in the wrong side of the line of scrimmage with the other team. If media sees a hit to the head or an indirect hit to some other part of the body that whiplashes the head violently, and they see signs that are suggestive of a concussion, they definitely, in my opinion, are appropriate in saying a concussion protocol ought to be instituted. In other words, an assessment for whether the individual has had a concussion or not. Nobody from the booth, however, can diagnose a concussion with certainty, except in the instance where there's posturing and we know that represents an unconscious patient. If somebody's gone through the concussion protocol and has been returned to the game, it means that the medical team has determined that they do not believe that a concussion has occurred in that individual. But it is possible for concussion symptoms to be delayed, and therefore it's always appropriate to re-examine that individual at a delayed point in time, 3 or 4 hours after the game, 24 hours the next day, to see whether or not there may have been concussion symptoms that were delayed.